Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Fatal 12 on Nintendo Switch.
そうにゃ、家で友達がいなかったですから。本を読む時もアニメを見ている時も一人ぼっちにならないようにパサジールをプレゼントしてくれたであります。今日はパサジールも広い世界を見ることができてきっと喜んでいたであります。
A heavy yawn erupts from Sonia after that, almost as if to lighten the mood.
お腹いっぱいになったら眠くなってしまいました。
今日はたくさん歩いたからね。ゆっくり休みな。はい、
おやすみなさいであります。
Saying that, she makes her way upstairs. Miharu and I are now alone together downstairs. Miharu ends up being the one to strike up a conversation while we tidy everything up.
ソフィアに尾行らしき影もなかった。11番は相当な自信家で酔狂な人のようだ。
I could tell Miharu was on edge the entire day, mainly because I was the same way when I first met Sonia. It's not far-fetched to assume that one person would keep an eye on her parents, and the other would watch Sonia, since two participants are working together. In this case, numeral 3, Federico Carminati, would probably watch her parents, while numeral 11 would be in charge of Sonia because she's the one holding her cards.
ソーニャのカードを3枚持っているから自信があるっていうのは納得できる。でもどうして酔狂って思うの？
僕の予想では11番はただソフィアに楽しんでほしかっただけだと思うんだ。いいかい？両親と協力して情報を調べることを徹底するなら最終日だって一緒にいさせてはいけない。これは当たり前だね。でも最後の時は家族と過ごすことを許した。慈悲とそう思われるけれど僕は違うと予想している。カセはソフィアではなく彼女の両親にかけられたんだ。
Maybe her job is to gather information on me and give it back to her, give it back to them.
どういう意味？
ソフィアの両親は選定を心から信じているかどうかわからない。娘が一時的に良くなっているだけだとわずかでも思っているなら病気のソフィアを日本滞在中も気にかけ続けるに決まっている。それこそこんな脂っこいピザなんて食べさせないさ。おっと、僕が嫌いなわけではないけどね。客観的に見ての話さ。ソフィアが知らない世界を見るというのは両親といては成し得ないことだと思う。ここまで言えばわかるかい？
I think back to Sonia's comments about having the freedom to eat what she likes. Pointing that out must mean she previously didn't have that freedom.
結果的にソーニャは私たちと違って広い世界を見ることができたかもしれない。
もちろん11番にとってソフィアと僕たちが出会うのは予想外だっただろう。だが今まで話したことから考えて11番はソフィアの未練を叶えさせたかったと本気で思っていたように予想できる。たった2日や3日では未練が完全になくなりはしないだろうが、それでも両親との観光では今夜見せたソフィアの涙は意味が違っていたかもしれない。
納得できる。正しいかどうかわからないけどソーニャは心から感動していたと思う。
そしてこれらの情報は11番のパーソナルを知るために重要な情報になってくるかもしれない。これからこの選定を改めて僕と一緒に戦わないかい？
She stares deep into my eyes. It takes a while, but she finally comes out with a proposition that feels long overdue. I stare right back, unable to say anything in response. My brain completely shuts down. I honestly have no idea what to say. I can hear the sound of her breathing. Noticing that her nerves are building with each and every breath, I finally answer.
ダメだよ。だって美晴は私を最後の一人にするためにって言うでしょ。
凛花を最後の一人にするのは僕のためでもあるけれどね。
同じだよ。それじゃ違う。私も美晴を最後の一人にするためにって思わなきゃ平等じゃないよ。私はまだどっちが生き残ればいいのかなってわからない。美晴は親友だ。それは間違いないよ。死なれるのは絶対に嫌だ。でもね、私も自分の未練をちゃんと知るまでは、自分がどうして生きているのかって知るまでは死にたくないんだ。迷いがある限り一緒に行動しても足を引っ張ることになる。
There's no doubt I'll face situations similar to when I confronted Alan at the hospital again. I'm sure my resolve will take a hit again when the time comes.
君の未練か。
Miharu trails off. There's no need for her to speak when her expression screams the complicated thoughts she's having. The silence doesn't last too long, however.
君はあるいは僕の死因に心当たりがあるはずなのにね。確信を持ったら軽蔑するはずだろうね。けれども分かった。今はまだそれでいい。だが僕のスタンスは変わらない。僕の運命はきっと君のためにあるのだから。迷いがなくなる時を心待ちにしているよ。
美晴はどうしてそこまで私を生かそうとしてくれるの？美晴にだって未練はあるはずなのに。自分のカードをちゃんと持っているでしょ。
君を愛しているからさ。
あ、はい。
Her exclamation throws me off at first, but naturally she must mean in a friendly way.
さて、僕たちももう寝よう。明日ソフィアを見送るのだろう。
そうだね。
I know she's the type of person to use suggestive lines to mask her actual feelings. It doesn't stop me from getting all flustered, though. Maybe because there's the off chance that she means it. In that case, I'd have no idea how to handle the situation that's making it even worse. Getting to sleep is no easy task after going back to my room. There's way too much on my mind. Lingering in my head the most is what Miharu said, that I should have an idea about her cause of death. I didn't outright deny her claim because, well, it's true. I've just been desperately trying to avoid thinking about it because I don't want to see my thoughts regarding my friend's death get turned into a card. There's one thing I can say for sure, regardless.
軽蔑なんてするわけないだろう。
Seems she's fast asleep already, judging by her breathing. I can't help but be impressed by how good she looks, even while sleeping. It's hard not to notice the scar on her wrist peeking out from under her sleeve. Suicide, oh boy. This is a heavy game. I brew some coffee for both Sonia and Miharu once morning comes around. Sonia doesn't want to drink hers black, so I make sure to put some milk and sugar in it.
初めて飲んだであります。美味しかったです。とても。
久しぶりにここでコーヒーをいただいたね。前とは少し味が変わっている。
前に入れたのはおばあちゃんだったからちょっと味は落ちちゃったかな。
そんなことはない。僕は変わったと言ったんだ。この香りがきっと凛花のコーヒーなんだ。
My coffee, huh? I suppose I have been making slight changes to the way I prepare it for a while. That doesn't matter right now, though. Rather, I can't help but lose myself as I stare at Miharu basking in the morning glow while enjoying her coffee. It causes me to recall her comment from last night, which forces me to avert my eyes. Sonia is staring at her too. I'm not sure if she noticed me during doing so and followed suit, but she eventually smiles and speaks up.
お姉様と美晴にソーニャからお願いであります。パサジールを預かってください。
だっておばあちゃんからもらった大切なものなんでしょ。
パサジール、ロシア語で旅人という意味だね。
驚きました。美晴はソーニャの国の言葉を知っていたのですか？
ソーニャの思いが、希望が名前にこもってたんだね。
A pang of sadness hits me as I remember Keiko's belief regarding the meaning behind one's name, although I do my best to hide it behind a smile.
それでお願いというのは？
この子にもっと世界を見せてあげてほしいであります。
She holds her closest friend out to Miharu with that beaming smile of hers.
僕に渡しても意味がない。だって
ソーニャのお願いは二人へのお願いであります。
She leaves Pazihira on the table at which Miharu is sitting and prepares to continue with her request. Miharu unconsciously strokes its head with her finger. At least I assume it is unconscious of her, since she retracts her finger the moment she realizes what she's doing.
ちょっとだけソーニャの話を聞いてくださいであります。女神の選定は12人が始まりから12週間後、選定の最後の時に本来同じ場所にいるはずだったと言っていました。実はソーニャの病気が悪くならなければ旅行が決まっていたのであります。行く場所はパパとママが決めることになっていたでありますが、日本、東京ということだけは決まっていたのであります。
しかし運命は変わった。ソフィアの病気は悪化した。だがそうか、君たち家族が東京に来る運命もあったというわけだね。
はい、運命は変わったであります。ソーニャは旅行の前に死んでしまいました。ソーニャが言いたかったのは運命は変わるってことであります。悪いように変わるならきっといいようにも。女神様が言うには12人のうちの1人しか生き残れないのが運命とのことであります。でも運命がそんなにコロコロ変わるものであれば、お姉様も美晴もずっと生きることのできる運命もあるかもしれないであります。ソーニャはもう間に合わないであります。でもお姉様と美晴ならパサジールにもっと広い世界を見せてあげられるかもしれないであります。
運命が変わる可能性。
ありえないよ。変わったとしてそれは生き残るものが変わるだけ。僕がいる限りそれが隣家であることに変わりはないけれど、僕らが今生きているのは女神の決めたルールがあるからだろ。
はい。ですがソーニャは2人にお願いをするであります。
Sonia speaks with enough confidence to refute Miharu's denial. The look in her eyes tells me that she is convinced by her own words, too.
ソフィアは最後までわがままだね。
遺言ですから。
そうか、約束はできないけれど、リンカ、君はソフィアの思いを受け止めるのだろう。
I nod firmly to reinforce my response. This is probably the only thing I can do for her for now.
ではソーニャは行くであります。お姉様、ミハル、どうもありがとうございました。
ああ、お気をつけて。
ソーニャ、私は楽しかった。絶対に忘れないから。
ソーニャもとても幸せでした。はわ、名残惜しくなってしまうので、もう行くであります。ではさようなら。
She bows deeply before leaving. I watch her sink down into the horizon from the store window.
行ってしまったね。
I am too caught up in my own thoughts to properly register what Miharu says. Nothing can change the fact that Sonia is going to be eliminated tonight. When I think about it, I only have 2 of her cards. I don't even have the option of triggering a simultaneous election like I did with Kaiko. Granted, even if I did, it'd be nothing more than a temporary measure to console myself. But seeing her walk off on her own like that is too much.
リンカ、
Before I can catch myself, I lose my composure. And the tears pouring down my face are proof of that.
だから最初に君がソーニャと仲良くしているのを知ったとき、僕は君をバカだと言ったんだ。でもリンカは後悔していないと言ったね。その気持ちは今も変わっていないかい？
I can't compose myself to respond verbally, so I have to nod in response.
そんなリンカだから僕は愛しているんだよ。
It's like Miharu, like a stalker kind of girl? I don't know. She sits down next to me after saying that. The moment our shoulders touch, I turn and cling onto her. She stays by my side the entire time I cry. After a glass of cold water, I manage to calm myself down. Meanwhile, Miharu gets ready to leave because she has to go to work.
ではまた明日学校で会おう。
ごめんね、さっきは泣いちゃって。ミハルは強いなって思ったよ。
くせ、自覚がないかもしれないけれど、僕からすれば君の方がよっぽど強い。
I deny her claim with a shake of my head as she smiles at me.
選定の期間はまだ半分にも満ちていない。リンカの迷いが消えるまで僕は待っているよ。
ありがとう、ミハル。でも私はミハルにもっと自分のことを大切にしてほしいとも思うよ。
その言葉、そっくりそのまま君に返したいよ。そういえばさっきはまた学校でと言ったけれど、次に会うのは夢の中だったね。
それ笑えないよね。じゃあまたね。
ああ。
That said, she turns and makes her way out. I should be used to being alone here, yet it somehow feels a lot more quiet than before. It wasn't long ago that the 3 of us were talking and laughing together. It's already almost afternoon, but I decide to open the store up. I also decide to give my grand a call later on in the evening.
ごきげんよう、運命の奴隷の皆様。
And thus today's session begins. Parsa's graceful voice rings throughout the court. I really can't fathom what's going through her mind. For what purpose does she divulge the intricacies of fate to us? What drove her to begin divine selection in the first place?
浮かない顔をしてらっしゃいますわね。
I refused to even consider her motivation before now, because I saw her as some ethereal being completely removed from the logic of humans. But now I find it hard not to remember what Sonia said. Fate can be changed. The idea of being able to alter the very events of this ritual had never even come to mind.
皆様、釣れませんわね。私と楽しくお話をしても損はしませんのに。
いいから早くしろ。
Alan's curt response serves as his attempt to hurry things along. I wonder where he is in the real world. I stopped searching him after meeting Sonia.
あなた様はいつもせっかちですわね。何か焦っていらっしゃるのかしら？
余計な話を好かないだけだ。それにお前は中立の立場のはずだろう。僕との会話が他の参加者の有利になるかもしれない。お前自身の行動でこの選定が平等ではなくなるが、女神としてそれはいいのか？
あら、私は中立な立場で平等にこの選定を取り仕切ると申した覚えはありませんけれど。
おい、そりゃねえだろ。
Federico Carminati is the next to chime in. Actually, this might be the first time I've heard him speak. Now that he's got my attention, I realize that he might actually be the tallest one here, and he's pretty stylish to boot. The suit he's wearing looks great on him. I wouldn't blame anyone if they confused him for a model.
俺たちの命がかかってんだぜ。平等じゃないんじゃ成り立たないだろ。
ったくこいつは。
あら、3番様、いかがなさいましたか？
Numeral 11 reacts to Federico's outburst, which causes Miharu to shoot me a quick glance. Looks like those two really are working together.
だいたい最初に配られるカードの時点で不公平だろ。俺が初期カードを持ってる2人がこいつに脱落させられちまったんだ。
He points towards Alan as he states his concerns.
なら貴様の初期カードで有効なのは残り1枚というわけだ。不平不満をこぼすのもいいが、自分から情報を開示するのは愚かなことだ。
てめえ、いい度胸じゃねえか。
僕に現状不満はない。女神、君が速やかに選定を進めればそれでいい。
承知いたしましたわ。あなた様もそれでよろしいかしら？
She turns to face Federico. He refuses to comply, raising his voice in a panic instead.
ちょっと待てよ。あんたたちもそれでいいのか？
He directs his questions outward to the remaining participants, his arms spread wide. No one responds to him, though. Not even numeral 11, his partner.
これで分かっただろう。不満がないわけではないが、余計なことを話して失態を見せるのは避けたいというのが総意だ。貴様のようにボロを出すのは特に愚かだ。
てめえ、覚えてろよ。
ああ、貴様が脱落するまでは覚えているだろう。
Parsha ends up being the one to interrupt their argument with a sigh.
もう口喧嘩は現実世界でお願いしますわ。お会いすることがあればですけれど。
Following that, she makes her way to the center of the court.
それでは今宵も女神の選定を始めますわ。回りなさい、運命の大時計。
Once again, it's time for us to decide whether or not we want to elect someone. Should things proceed as Sonia believes, numeral 11 will elect numeral 10 tonight. I grit my teeth at the inevitable and announce that I won't be electing anyone. Up next is Maharu, who will likely say the same. This is the fourth election, and it's safe to say there's a solid split between how each of us are approaching the situation. Some have opted to go all out with info gathering, while others are choosing to sit back and let the situation unfold. The fact that numerals 11 and 12 are the only ones to elect anyone yet is proof of that.
僕の番だね。10番、君を指名させてもらうよ。
ここに来て初めての方からのご指名ですわね。承りましたわ。それでは他の皆様にも伺ってまいりましょう。
I can't hide my surprise. That's not good because it could act as a hint to others, as it's known by this point that we're acquainted. But that isn't enough to stop me from acting out. Meanwhile, Sonia seems unfazed by Miharu's election. Don't tell me. Did they plan this from the beginning? Their conversation that night wasn't just about Sonia having Miharu's name card, but this as well? As I'm mulling it over, the clock hand eventually revolves around the numeral 11.
指名するぜ、私はよ。そこの小娘と同じ10番のこいつをさ。
She points to Sonia. It's obvious she hadn't anticipated this scenario. She doesn't seem bent out of shape, though. She looks more like she's enjoying this turn of events, much like our predator would as it bares its fangs towards its prey. Numeral 11 only knows that Sonia holds her name card. If Miharu eliminates Sonia, then it's possible that she could end up with said card. Naturally, this is something numeral 11 would want to avoid. The same likely applies to Miharu, and that's why they're both aiming to have Sonia's election called off. It wouldn't make sense for them to put one of their own cards out there to protect the other.
さあ、女神さん、こういう場合はどうするんだっけ？
指名の優先権を取得するかどうか決めていただきますわ。ご自身のカードを1枚全員に公開すれば優先権を取得できます。この場合、先に決めた側が駆け引きで不利になりますから、同時に決めていただきます。優先権を取得する場合は、ご自身のカードを1枚私へ差し出してください。
かか、無理で構わねえ。私から意思表示してやるよ。優先権はノーだ。いらねえ。あとはてめえの方で決めてくれ。
もう11番様、私がルールを申し上げているのですから守ってくださいな。それで2番様はいかがなさいますか？
Parsa turns to face Miharu, speaking in a slow and soft tone. Miharu nods in response, opening her card book. She produces one card from it.
僕は使命のカードを公開しよう。これを持って優先権を取得し、10番君を指名させてもらう。
Sonia remains unfazed by this turn of events. Her expression seems forlorn, but that's been true ever since Divine Selection began. Meanwhile, numeral 11 has stopped smiling. She's giving Miharu a vitriolic glare instead.
使命は捨てか。あいつ面白いじゃねえか。
承りました。それではこれより2番様による10番様のご指名を開始いたしますわ。
A familiar tremor accompanies her statement. Shortly after, Miharu and Sonia's platforms ascend to the upper stratum. Miharu and Sonia face one another in the upper stratum of the Court of Fate. Neither look too happy about what will soon take place. Regardless, they make sure to maintain eye contact.
ミハル、ありがとうであります。
いや、お礼を言うのは僕の方だよ。あの夜、君の方から僕に声をかけてきた時は驚いたけれど、そのけ
はい、きっとお姉様ではできない判断だったと思うであります。
僕は凛花のために命を捧げると決めているからね。覚悟するのはたやすいよ。
改めましてごきげんよう。
Parsa appears out of nowhere as usual, offering them both a welcoming smile. Miharu looks more than displeased by her presence.
あなた様方はお知り合いでいらっしゃったのですね。それに他の参加者たちのように敵意を向け合ってもいません。
The only hostility present right now is being directed towards Parsa herself. Miharu makes her desire to not engage with Parsa clear by changing the subject.
この後、僕はどうすればいいのかな。
10番様のカードを3枚お選びになってください。そしてそこに書かれている内容を読み上げてくださいませ。
ああ。
Miharu's card emerges from her book and floats in the air in front of her. She plucks 3 cards from them.
使命ソフィア・プリジニチエ・アレクセーブナ。死因詳細は省いて、ここに書かれているものをそのまま読むよ。病死 ね。ソフィア、君の願いは聞いたよ。僕は約束できないけれど、リンカは君の願いを受け止めた。リンカが叶えたいというのであれば、僕も最大限協力をするよ。ただし、リンカが最後の一人に残ることが最優先なのは変わらない。
はい、分かっています。それでもソーニャは最後にお姉様とミハルと会うことができて幸せでありました。パサジールのこともどうかよろしくするであります。
ああ。
Miharu casts her eyes back down to her cards. A few moments later, she closes her eyes and recites the contents of the third card.
未練、広く自由に世界を見ること。
All three cards begin to move on their own in response. Once they reach the middle of the Court of Fate, they come together and form a triangular shape.
さような。
僕はさよならという言葉が嫌いなんだ。願わくはリンカと僕の幸福を祈ってほしい。
はい、
She takes a deep breath before clasping her hands together and offering up a prayer.
リンカとミハルの未来に祝福がありますように。
ありがとうソフィア。君のことは忘れない。どうか安らかに。
The light from Miharu's cards grows stronger and brighter until it engulfs the entire area. Miharu makes sure to keep her eyes on Sonia's tear-stained face, no matter how blinding the light grows. Feelings of regret and emptiness begin to flow into her. She finds herself laying on Sophia's bed in her room. The doctors rush in as her parents look on, praying for her safety. The girl reflected upon her life as her breathing grew ever more pained. The ceiling of this room was perhaps the most viewed scenery she'd witnessed throughout her life. She could only ever experience the outside world through a book or monitor. Freedom remained a foreign concept. Just how much time did she spend imagining the wonders that would come with attaining such a thing? In the end, her life was nothing but dull. Dull to the point where she spent her final moments contemplating her reality and how it compared to the vast world she'd so longed to experience.
趣味が悪いな。脱落した人間の今和の際を指名者に見せるなんてね。
私が意図したものではありませんわ。これは儀式でございますから。あなた様の指名により選定中一時的に変わっていた運命が元の死の運命へと強制的に引き戻される。この場所の力を借り儀式は行われる。その余波があなたに言ってしまうのはあくまで弊害。どうしようもないことでございますわ。
待ってくれ。君の女神の意図ではない。これは女神の選定だろう。君の意図しない力が干渉しているというのか。
Rather than receive an answer, Miharu's platform begins its descent. It returns to the lower stratum.
私、無用な詮索をする方は好きではございませんの。
Parsha utters her words only after Miharu has gone far enough away. Numeral 2 comes back down instead of Odette this time. It's been obvious that her and Numeral 1 know each other ever since this whole thing started. I also figure they aren't at odds with each other, which means it's likely they're working together, like me and Odette. Damn, did tonight ever take me by surprise. I was sure she'd back down once Odette said she would. Odette's obviously going to prioritize protecting her own information over eliminating Sophia. Even if the chance of me cooperating with Sophia existed, it was still a lot less dangerous for Odette to get a hold of the information Sophia had than another participant. Odette's point in ignoring what Parsha said was to make it clear that there's no need for numeral 2 to reveal one of her cards. But she went and gave up her name card anyway.
わからなくなってきたぜ。
Gotta say, that numeral 1 sure is a little runt compared to numeral 2. I assume they're both Asian, but boy does numeral 2 have the right glamour and proportions. I figured she'd get eliminated pretty quick, but she went ahead and surprised me. That's a woman after my own heart. The best women are the gutsy ones, definitely. Not counting freaks of nature like Odette, of course.
それではどのカードを取得するかを宣言してください。
She poses the all-important question to numeral 2. No doubt she's gunning for Odette's card.
僕は1番死因のカードをもらおう。
Damn, she betrays my expectations yet again.
どういうこと？ソーニャが。
Doesn't look like anyone's more surprised by this turn of events than numeral 1 herself. Can't blame her. Out of all the cards numeral 2 could have picked, she went with the one belonging to the person she's working together with.
君はまだ理解が足りないようだね。これは選定なんだ。これ以上喋らないでくれ。
Numeral 2 slaps her with a frigid verbal warning. Numeral 1 is obviously taken aback, but it does cause her to keep quiet.
それでは2番様、指名の優先権を取得した代償としてあなた自身のカードを私にお渡しくださいませ。
ああ、これでいいのかい？
Parsa approaches her and is handed a card. My card book begins to shine immediately after. 2. Name Hebinata Miharu.
見張るエビナとか。
Miharu is pretty easy for me to pronounce. Guess this explains the procedure for revealing your card to the others. Feels more fitting to say that everyone simply obtains it. The others check their card books as well.
ミハル、どうして？
今はもう君と話すことは何もない。
Numeral 1 was surprised over obtaining her card too. That means Miharu never revealed her real name. Safe to say what's going on here at this point, if you ask me. Their relationship's done for.
それでは今宵の脱落者は1名。これをもって選定を終了といたしましょう。
Is it possible for multiple eliminations to happen? Parsa brings an end to tonight's election, ignoring numeral 1's shock over the turn of events. This whole situation's gotten pretty messy now. I was starting to panic a bit myself, considering Odette and numeral 12 were outdoing me, but I guess we're at the point where anything can happen. And hey, watching Odette get taken for a ride felt amazing. I was even planning on approaching Miharu, had she opted to go with Odette's info, but it seemed like I'm best off sticking with Odette for now. When all is said and done, I had to put some serious effort into containing this newfound ambition of mine. It's time to meet up with Odette at the hotel, and I still haven't gotten over my excitement about what happened last night in the dream world.
なあ、あいつら見たか。1番、2番ガキ。仲間割れしてたぜ。ああいうのはなんかゾクゾクするもんがあるよな。
Odette makes it obvious how little she cares about listening to me as I ramble on and on.
朝からうるせえやつだな。んなことより朝飯だ。ここのホテルのバイキングにはもう飽きちまったが、味は悪くねえからな。
たく、今後あいつらを脱落させに行くときに役に立ってくるかもしれないだろ。
After saying that, I finally noticed that Odette's in a rotten mood. The excitement I got from their little quarrel made me forget all about what actually happened during last night's election.
私を出し抜いたんだ。見張るってのは侮れねえ。
She might look annoyed, but here's the thing. Her voice makes her sound a little thrilled by it.
面白くなってきたぜ。
I don't think I'll ever understand this monster's logic. Not after this outburst and what she did to that Russian brat. I can say one thing for sure, though. She ain't the only one who thinks things have finally gotten interesting. For the first time in a few days, I'm all alone when I wake up. My eyes feel dry. That leads me to believe I was crying in my sleep.
本当に弱いな。私は。
can't deny that I enjoyed the time I spent together with Sonia. Being with her helped to take my mind off the pressure of divine selection. I do my best to hold back any more tears as I make my way over to my desk. I pick up my card book and peer at the card I obtained last night. It's the card that Miharu revealed to every participant in order to earn the right to eliminate Sonia. Hibanata Miharu. That's what's written on Miharu's name card. The surname doesn't ring any bells, but considering her family situation, I can guess what happened. What's more, Miharu obtained my cause of death card last night. Information that even I don't know the full details of. Her actions last night left me visibly shaken, which led her to take on a cold attitude towards me. I can't help but remember what she said. I have nothing more to say to you at the moment.
そういうことだよね、ミハル。
After making that comment, I get ready for school. I leave the TV on as I do, which is how I come to learn some interesting news. Apparently, a suspicious-looking bag was left on one of the Yamanote line trains near Shibuya Station. The police initially suspected it to be an attempted terrorist attack, but after inspections, the bag turned out to be empty. Part of me wonders if one of the Divine Selection participants might have been involved, but based on the reports, I can't think of any links to them. As I listen to the report, I suddenly get a pounding headache. I start to feel stressed out and exhausted, both physically and mentally. I must have imagined the grisly scene of a terrorist attack unconsciously while watching the news. Thanks to all that excitement, it seems like the trains are running late. I make sure to head out earlier than usual. I bump into Naomi on my way into school. I never see her in the morning because she always comes earlier than me, but I guess the train's delayed her enough today. She notices me first, so she spins her body around to face me. Except the spin is so sudden that it causes her to lose balance.
ちょっと。
I quickly grab her hand and support her so she doesn't fall. It's been a while since I last saw one of Naomi's tripping scenes. Then again, it's been a while since I last saw Naomi, period.
すみません。
もう大丈夫？
She struggles to hide her embarrassment as she props herself back upright.
どう？文化祭の準備は進んでる？
そこそこって感じです。まだ内装の飾り付けとかをどうするか全然決まってなくて。あ、でもコーヒーはバッチリですよ。最優先でみんなに教えています。
よかった、元気そうで。文化祭はもう来週だからあっという間だね。
I'm not even sure how things are going with my own class right now. I might end up helping them out with something the day of, but for now I have no idea whether or not things are progressing well.
先輩はその
Just as Naomi is about to say something, a voice calls out to me from behind her.
おはようリンカと羊さん。
Miharu has just arrived, it seems. As always, her hair flutters elegantly in the wind. She speaks to me like normal, almost as if what happened in the dream world last night never took place. I do my best to follow along, considering Naomi's presence.
三島先輩。あ、じゃあそろそろ私行きますね。チャイム鳴りそうですし。
あ、私たちも。
She skitters off towards the building before I can finish my sentence.
僕はやはり避けられているみたいだね。
I struggle to find an appropriate response. However, she removes that burden from me by making the response herself.
まあ仕方ない。もともと原因を作ったのは僕の方だってことは分かっているよ。
ナオミと何かあったの？
くす。大丈夫。大したことではないよ。さあ、僕たちも教室へ行こう。遅刻ギリギリだ。
ちょっと待って。あのさ、昨日のことだけど。
うまく話題をそらしたつもりだったんだけどね。放課後バイトが終わったら僕からライオン館へ行くよ。それでいいかい？
話をそらすっていうの嘘。
Her smile upon hearing my question is enough of an answer for me. She's fully aware I want to talk about last night's events. The flood of students pouring into school eventually forces us to ride the wave with them.
お昼ご飯の時間だよ。
Alright, why don't we stop it there? This is Audapostrophe. You've been watching Fatal 12 on Nintendo Switch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.